All right, we are back, and now it's time to talk about the New York Red Bulls.
New Jersey.
New York Red Bulls. As we talk about the Red Bulls, I would like to get into the game itself against Toronto, and it was definitely a wild one.
Wild doesn't even begin to describe what happened.
Yeah. Well, 2-1 was the first leg. So Red Bulls knew coming in that they were gonna need to score 2 goals, and I feel like from the get-go, they really didn't give it enough that they needed to. I felt like Toronto was still a little dominant early on. There was a couple of chances that Toronto probably should have scored on. 12th minute, Robles got a touch on a ball that went across the 6-yard box, but Giovinco was right there to slot that one in. And then in the 33rd minute, we get the Sasha and Josie incident that I think all of MLS has been talking about in the past couple of days. But I guess we'll touch on that later. But as the game went on, the Red Bulls, they controlled the game, surprisingly, and a couple of key tackles that kept the Red Bulls in the game. And then 53rd minute, the Red Bulls broke through.
Deflected goal,
which, was...
Gave them a little life.
Gave them life. And then in the 61st minute, I don't know if you saw the 1v1 that BWP missed. And
I can't believe you missed that.
That is so Metro. That's like a term that like I'll forever use because it's just every year, it's just, you could always say, wow, that's so Metro. And it was a huge save from Bono. He came out quick, but BWP with his experience, 9 times out of 10 he's putting that in the back of the net.
Of course, the one time is in a playoff game in Toronto.
And
you could beat the best team in the league.
Yeah, and the Red Bulls, they win the game 1-0, but on away goals they fall. And I guess the incident with Sasha and Josie, it didn't just stop on the field. It both players were sent off with a red card at halftime for a scuffle that again the whole league's been talking about. And I guess my problem is with Josie.
That flop was just zero class from that. Zero class from him.
Yeah, and I felt like it was a whole game. It was a whole game. It was Josie. It was I
want to defend him, but I can't defend him when you're flopping. When you barely he barely got touched. No one. Sasha put his hands on him. No force, no nothing.
Mm-hmm.
The man flopped like he got shot by a sniper.
And we know Josie's a big guy.
Yeah.
He is not a small man. If we're talking out of context, if we're just talking about Sasha and Josie, the two of them going up in a fight, I'm taking Josie out to the door 10 times out of 10. But
they're former U.S. national team teammates.
That's the interesting part, because you would think that these two guys are definitely going to be playing on at some point they're going to be in the same camp.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Collection, hasn't been breaking in. Josie Altidore is a staple in that team, but how does the future U.S. men's national team coach, I wonder if they're going to think about that now, because there's clearly a beef. We saw it on Twitter too.
Josie with that tweet after the game,
and I really think Josie is kind of having a hard time dealing with the fallout of the World Cup. I feel like he might be taking it
really
the hardest, it seems.
I mean, fans are being quite abusive to him, verbally and online.
Yeah, and I'm a Red Bulls fan, and hearing that he got some flack from the Red Bulls fans, I was pretty disappointed to hear that. But at the same time, I think it's completely fair for every men's national team player to get booed wherever they go.
They should expect it after you lose 2-0 to Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad and Tobago is as big as Rhode Island. Come on.
Trinidad and Tobago, you can't defend it. Okay, they had a good run in the Gold Cup, but Josie Altidore needs to personally deal with this and move on from it, because you can't, if you're in a playoff run, you can't be tweeting stuff, you can't be getting red cards, you can't be fighting at halftime.
Josie's now suspended for the first leg of the Eastern Conference Final, as well as Sebastian Giovinco.
Yeah.
It's going to hurt their team in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, there you go. He's out for that. And, I guess we could get back to the Red Bulls now. We'll definitely touch on Josie and the U.S. national team later on. But I think it's just like missed chances for the Red Bulls every single year. Being a Red Bulls fan and going to the stadium every year, going to Red Bull Arena to see them disappoint me time and time again. It's really, of course, I enjoyed seeing NYCFC lose,
even though reputation as well.
Yeah, even though it was a great comeback, I can give it to them. I was thoroughly impressed with their resilience, but it's getting tough to watch as a Red Bull fan.
I couldn't imagine year after year what you go through. Like I don't understand how the team keeps doing it. It's borderline miracle work. That's
it's almost like it's a conscious effort to like get there. And then last year against Montreal, disappointing because we were obviously the better team than Montreal. I think that's really every year. I feel like we are. There's no doubting that the Red Bulls every year are one of the best teams in MLS when they're playing well.
They've won the Supporters Shield in 2013, 2015.
Yeah, and it's. You get there, and then with Columbus a couple years ago, we got there, and then right at the end, we score a goal, and there's hope, and we have a minute left, and then Anatole Bong heads one off the post, and it's cleared away, and it's just like...
I remember watching it. I was like...
So Metro. Like, this is so cliche. And then you could go as far back as I don't know if you remember, but Kenny Cooper missing the penalty that had to be retaken because Thierry Henry stepped over the line. And it's just those things that it's just like it's never ending. It's a calamity of just unfortunate incidences, and at the end of the day now it's another playoff loss, and it's like, where do we go in 2018?
Let me ask you this. How do you think Jesse Marsch has done in these past 2 years he's been manager?
I'm torn because, one, the development of talent has been great. I don't know, FC Dallas has done a great job with their development academy, but we look at Tyler Adams, the development of players like that, Sean Davis, maybe regressed a little bit this year, but, I'm happy with him introducing the young players, really pushing this youth system. The Red Bulls are trying to go young. I like that. I think that's hard for any fan if you're playing well and you're doing it with young players to be against that.
I think that's what you need to do in MLS too.
Yeah.
Young players that are playing up to their potential against these big players like Drogba a few years ago, David Villa, Kaká, who just retired as well. Having these young players playing against them, especially with like the Red Bulls, with Tyler Adams in that young core, it's not gonna hurt them. It won't do anything to hurt them. It's just gonna develop their game, help them in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, I love Aaron Long. I mean, that's another player that he's, in my opinion, he should be on the U.S. men's national team radar in the next year or two. This is his rookie year, and he's filled in, and he completely shut down Giovinco in the second leg. I think there's a lot of upside there, but I guess my problem with Jesse Marsch is that whenever the Red Bulls play, there's a lack of width.
Okay.
They have such a hard time. We play so many chipped crosses from awkward areas, not really, from the flanks. And we play so centrally. We're always trying to get it into Kleshna, into these tight areas, and then we're almost. I feel like we're always trying to like walk the ball into the goal to give BWP like just that tap in, and it's worked, I guess, but that's, every single time. You probably know how the Red Bulls are gonna play every single time you play them. And
I think that's
that's my problem.
Integral part of NYCFC beating them twice this year. I think they came out prepared. I feel like the Rebels have played the same way they've played against them in the past. And they knew what to expect coming in, and they beat them both on the road and at home this year. So
yeah, for sure. That's a problem I have, but at the same time, Jesse Marsch, in a press conference today with Dennis Hamlet, he will be back as the manager in 2018.
You think he's gonna last the whole year?
I think he will, because I don't think the Red Bulls. The Red Bulls aren't gonna be. They haven't been bad in like 10 years.
They've made the playoffs
for the past 10 years. They have made the playoffs 9 times.
It's quite a remarkable streak.
And it is remarkable, and it's, I guess that's kind of like my problem with MLS and the whole one table thing, because it's like we could have been champions twice, but that's not how it works. But looking at the club next year, do you bring Aurélien Collin back? He's 30 years old. Do you bring him back? I'm not sure. You have Parnell, who has been great this year, but he has injury problems. Well, what's his future looking like? His contract is up right now. And, and then Gonzalo Verón is a designated player, and he hasn't
lived up to anything.
In 29 appearances this year, he started in like 5 of them.
He can't last a full 90.
How can you have a designated player that doesn't break into the team?
As young as he is, exactly.
He's supposed to be in his prime. And it's like, well, what do you do now? Does he want to even stay here anymore? I feel like it's a lost cause.
I don't see any reason they would want to bring him back or would want him to be in New York.
Yeah, even for himself, why would he want to even be here if it just really hasn't worked out?
He should just go back home, and I think he would do much better in Argentina.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where he would fall in MLS. I mean, a big problem for him settling in was just the fact that the Red Bulls didn't have another Spanish-speaking player last year.
You're right. I do remember hearing about that.
And he does not speak English. This changed this year with Escobar, Murillo. But I feel bad for the guy in a sense, because it's like he came here. He didn't really settle in. He doesn't. I'm sure it's kind of lonely.
You can't communicate on the field. That's a big problem, if you ask me.
For sure. And then you're not playing. And you're in your prime, and definitely a lot to think about for the front office. But Marsch will be back. And what do you think about Jesse Marsch?
I honestly think he's a very good coach. I personally do not like him for biased reasons, but he is a good coach. He knows what he's doing. I think he is the right man to lead the Rebels. He's got a young system. He can take them to very good potential. So I think Marsch will. I think the Rebels, as long as they have a very good offseason, I think the Rebels will be very successful next year. I think it could be, depending on both of their off seasons, I think it could be another 1-2 combo in the East for both New York teams. And I'm looking forward to see what Jesse Marsch can bring to the Red Bulls.
Yeah, I think it's coming. It's coming one of these years. It's going to be NYCFC Red Bulls for that Eastern Conference.
It's going to be epic.
Championship, and it's going to be incredible. And I would love to see, Marsch is very passionate on the sidelines. I would love to see him and Vieira.
They would go to a fist fight.
It would happen, and it would be great. I think we would both love it. I would, enjoy seeing, both teams go at it. I probably wouldn't enjoy watching another game on a baseball field in the playoffs. That's something I don't like too much.
At least it won't be in Hartford.
At least it won't. Well, who knows? But we will be back to talk about the U.S. men's national team and also the other games in MLS in the playoffs.
Very disappointed by one of them.
Yep, we'll be right back.
Tuesday, got your girl in the cut and she